What's up, guys? It's your boy Darkskin, and today I am going to be explaining all of the elemental reactions in the game. Now, there are a couple of them. I'm going to be explaining what they do, and I'm going to be explaining their damage calculation of, like, you know, how much damage they do and why, etc., everything like that for you guys. So, starting out, right, let's go ahead and go into here. So, starting out, we're going to talk about wind. Now, keep in mind, a Nemo doesn't have any debuffs, and it reacts with any debuff, or basically any element except Geo, right? Causing it to fuse and do swirl damage, basically. So whenever wind fuses with another element, it becomes swirl. Geo, which I have him on Earth right now, but anyways, Geo is the same thing. Geo is a non-debuff ability or element, and it reacts to all debuff elements, being ice, fire, water, electricity. So as far as Geo and wind, those two are basically neutral elements. They have no debuff, and they fuse with everything except each other because they're both neutrals. So keep that in mind. Now, I do want to let you guys know there is another element called Dendro. If you guys have seen those little the little like slimes, jellies, whatever you want to call them, the ones that are in the ground, right? When they come out the ground, when you turn around, like turn your back on them, those are like Dendro, but that's like not in the game really, so we're not gonna really talk about that one. But anyways, first off, I want to talk about ice and fire. Now, if you guys don't know, whenever you freeze an enemy and then you light them on fire, melt happens. Well, whenever that happens, you'll do 2 times the amount of damage with that reaction. Now, you can also do melt if there's a fire unit and you use ice. But keep in mind, if someone's frozen and you use fire, you will do 2 times the damage. Now, if it's a fire unit and you use ice, you will only do 1.5 times damage. So 100% is base damage. If you use ice on a fire unit, you'll do 1.5 or 50% increase. And then if you use fire on an ice unit, you will do 200% increase. So, 2 times the damage. Now, the next one is going to be fire and water. If you guys don't know, obviously water beats fire. So if you use fire on water, you will get a 1.5 times increase. If you use water on fire, you will get a 2 times increase. Right? Now, those are basically the one ways. So, long story short, fire beats ice, water beats fire, and then we'll get to ice and water in a little bit. Now, not to say that you can still damage water with fire. It'll just be a 1.5 times increase, which would be Vaporize, and then you can still damage fire with ice. It'll just be melt, but it's only 1.5 times increase instead of 2 times increase. So, there you go. Now, talking about ice and water. Whenever ice and water are applied to an enemy, they get frozen. Now, the duration of the freeze depends on the character's level. Keep in mind, this goes both ways. So, if there's a unit that's wet and you hit them with ice, they will get frozen. If there's an ice unit and you hit them with water, they will get frozen. It goes both ways, right, for those two. It doesn't matter what happens first or what happens second. If they get hit with ice or water first and ice or water second, they will get frozen. Now, when an enemy is frozen, shatter can occur. Shatter is when a character with a claymore hits a frozen enemy. So meaning you can only do this if you have character like Beto, or any other, two-handed sword wielder that wields a claymore. Shatter can occur, basically the ice breaking, you'll do extra damage. Now that we talked about that, let's talk about electricity, or Electro. Electro goes into all of the other elements, okay? Electro goes into all the other elements. Superconduct is electricity and ice, or Electro and cryo. What that does is it reduces the physical defense. Well, actually, I think they changed it, right? It's not physical defense. They reduced the defense of the enemy by like 15%, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's because it was changed, right? or maybe it's not. I'm not sure which one was changed. At first it was like 50% and now it's 15, or it was 15% and now it's 50, but they switched it from like physical to normal. But anyways, your defense gets reduced whenever it's lightning and ice. So that's super conduct. Now, talking about overload, overload is going to be electricity and fire. And what that does is basically it deals extra damage to Geo whatever, right? Now, obviously it does extra damage in general, but as far as Geo structures or characters, they're going to take even more damage. Moving on to Electro Charge. Electro Charge does basically it's the combination between electricity and water. And what it's going to do, it's going to make the electricity damage proc multiple times, and it bounces between the characters that are wet, right? The main combo that I use, if you've seen my team, is Beto, Mona, I have Chi-Chi, and then Venti. So I'm going to be doing a lot of Electro Charge and a lot of Super Conduct with my team. Between switching to Chi-Chi, freezing enemies, right? And then hitting them with electricity, I'm going to be getting a lot of these different elemental reactions off. Now, the thing you need to know about elemental reactions, I mentioned wind and earth earlier, but I didn't really talk about it. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to put Venti back in my team, because that's who I usually have. I just had Amber for some chests or whatever. Like I said, how wind works, wind fuses with anything. So whenever you use wind with another element outside of Geo, because Geo is a neutral element as well, it'll fuse with it. Now right here, you didn't see anything fuse, but that's just because that ability is just a wind knockup. But let's say we pop our ult, right? Right, let's pop our ult. And then throw water in it. You see how it turned blue? It fused with the water, so now it's going to be doing a lot more damage. It's going to be doing wind damage and water damage. So that's how wind works. Wind literally fuses with any element except for Geo. Same thing with Geo. Whenever Geo comes into contact with other elements, it'll create a shield against that element. Have you ever been fighting there's like this rock thing that kind of looks like a Sonic? He's like rolling around and stuff. If your ability goes into contact with that, you'll get like a shield. Like I've got a purple shield because the Geo got in contact with electricity, stuff like that. So as far as Geo, if it comes into contact with any element, you'll get a shield against that element. Then with wind, if it comes into contact with that element, it will practically become that element and do a lot more damage. So this is all the elemental reactions and everything like that. As far as all the characters, like I said, melt can go both ways, although fire melting ice is going to do more damage. Freeze can go both ways, period, right? Water, ice, or ice, water. Either one's fine. And then Vaporize can also go both ways, except water hitting fire is going to do more damage. And then you have electricity, who is going to be fusing with ice, water, and fire to do certain things. And then you have wind that fuses with everything to do increased damage. I hope you guys learned something from this. I hope you got something out of this. I hope I cleared up some stuff for you guys, because I know a lot of people are, weren't really sure as to what that is. In my last video, I actually went over the stats. So definitely check that video out if you have not already. I'll talk about Elemental Mastery. Elemental Mastery is the elemental reactions that I just went over, right? These are not just single elements. These are based off of, overload, super conduct, electro charge, etc. All of these things are elemental mastery. So definitely check that video out. It's my last video. If you guys have not already, I'd greatly appreciate it if you did. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, comment down below, tell me what you guys did in the comment section below. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.